The alien vampire had one need, and the human volunteered to satisfy it. Whispers in the void. The emergency klaxons wailed as Commander Nora Reeves fought to keep her scout vessel from tearing apart. Through the cracked viewport, the barren moon loomed large, unmarked on charts, classified as quarantine zone by Fleet Command. "Just my luck," she muttered, wrestling with unresponsive controls. The hegemony cruiser that had ambushed her squadron was long gone, but its parting shot had crippled her engines. Her vessel screamed through the thin atmosphere, metal groaning in protest. Impact came with a sickening crunch. Nora's head slammed against her restraints, and darkness claimed her. When she awoke, copper-tasting blood trickled from her temple. Emergency lights bathed the cockpit in crimson. Outside, twilight had fallen across a landscape of obsidian sand and towering crystalline structures. She checked her oxygen levels, breathable, barely, then gathered survival gear from the wreckage. "Distress beacon activated," she said to no one, wincing as she pressed a bandage to her head wound. "Now to find shelter before nightfall." The moon's temperature was dropping rapidly. Nora limped toward the nearest structure, a massive obelisk protruding from a nest of smaller crystalline formations. As she approached, she realized they weren't natural formations but ruins, ancient architecture unlike anything in the interstellar archive. The entrance yawned before her, intricate symbols etched into black stone. Her translator implant hummed, trying and failing to decipher the markings. Inside, the air was unexpectedly warm, carrying a scent like cinnamon and ozone. "Hello," her voice echoed through cavernous halls. She activated her wrist light, revealing walls adorned with murals depicting tall, elegant beings with star-filled eyes. "Anyone here? Friendly human needs assistance." Something moved in the shadows. Nora reached for her sidearm, but her injured arm refused to cooperate. "You bring weapons into my sanctuary." The voice was like silk drawn across glass, feminine and ancient. A figure emerged from darkness, tall and willowy, with skin the color of polished silver and eyes containing swirling nebulae. Not human, not even close. Her movements were fluid yet hesitant, as if unaccustomed to walking. "I am Lyridian," the being said, "last queen of the Sithari, and you are trespassing." Nora lowered her hand from her holster. "Commander Nora Reeves, Terran Alliance Navy, my ship crashed. I meant no disrespect to your sanctuary." The alien tilted her head, studying Nora with those cosmic eyes. "Your kind declared this moon forbidden centuries ago, after what your ancestors did to mine." "The quarantine, Nora's academy training hadn't covered this. I don't understand." Lyridian drifted closer, her translucent gown flowing like water. "The Sithari were feared across the stars. Your kind called us vampires, though we never craved your blood." "What did you crave?" Nora asked, backing against a wall. "Memory," Lyridian whispered. "The essence of experience, emotion, knowledge. We consumed consciousness." Her form wavered, briefly insubstantial. "I have been in stasis for centuries. My strength wanes. I need." Understanding dawned on Nora. "You need to feed." "Yes," Lyridian's voice was barely audible. "But I will not take without consent. That was our ancient law, forgotten by the last generations who started the war with humans." Nora should have been terrified. Instead, curiosity bloomed. In Lyridian's eyes, she saw not malice but loneliness, an eternal hunger not just for sustenance but for connection. "What happens if I consent?" Nora asked. "I touch your mind, I taste your memories. The stronger the emotion attached, the more it sustains me." Lyridian hesitated. "You would lose those memories, temporarily perhaps, or permanently if I take too much." "Would it hurt?" "No, many found it pleasurable once, and unburdening." Nora considered her options. Her rescue might be days away. Her injuries needed treatment beyond her medkit's capabilities. And something about this alien queen stirred her compassion. "Take what you need," Nora said finally, "but promise me something." Lyridian looked surprised. What could I possibly offer you? Show me what you see when you feed. Let me experience my memories through your perception. The queen's eyes widened. That is unprecedented. The connection goes one way. Then make it go both ways, Nora challenged. You said your people were advanced. Prove it. A smile curved Lyridian's silver lips. Brave and foolish, very human, she approached, raising long, elegant fingers. I will try. Her cool fingertips touched Nora's temples. The world dissolved. 8 years old, running through wildflower meadows on Earth's last nature preserve. Laughter bubbling up, father calling her name. 14, first heartbreak. Tears soaking her pillow after Talia said they should just be friends. 20, standing tall at academy graduation. Mother pinning commander's insignia that once belonged to her grandmother. The memories flowed like water, bright and vivid. Nora felt them leaving, not painfully, but like photographs sliding from an album. And remarkably, she could see Lyridian experiencing them. The alien's consciousness wrapping around each memory, absorbing the emotions with wonder and confusion. When Lyridian finally withdrew her touch, Nora slumped against the wall, breathing hard. The alien queen looked transformed. Her skin glowed faintly, her form more substantial. Your childhood, Lyridian whispered. I've never happiness like that, and pain, so much pain, yet you cherish it. Nora touched her temple, finding the memories hazy but present. You didn't take them completely. I took echoes, impressions, enough to sustain me briefly. Lyridian swayed slightly. Human memories are intoxicating, more complex than any I've consumed before. Did you show me what you experienced? Nora asked. I tried. The connection is difficult to reverse. Try again tomorrow, Nora suggested, surprised by her own eagerness. I need to treat my injuries and rest, and you need to process what you've already taken. Lyridian nodded slowly. There is a chamber beyond with healing properties. My people designed it for guests, long ago when we welcomed visitors instead of consuming them. As she led Nora deeper into the sanctuary, the commander noticed how Lyridian kept glancing back at her with fascination. Once, the alien queen reached out as if to touch Nora's hair, then withdrew her hand quickly. Your emotions, Lyridian said softly. They linger within me. I feel concern for your well-being. This is not a Sithari trait. Nora smiled despite her exhaustion. That's called empathy. Looks like my memories are changing you already. In the healing chamber, warm light bathed Nora's injuries. As she drifted toward sleep, she caught Lyridian watching her from the doorway, the alien's cosmic eyes reflecting starlight. Rest, Nora Reeves, Lyridian murmured. Tomorrow you will share more of your world with me. Nora closed her eyes, wondering why she felt so at peace, offering her memories to a creature that had once been her species' nightmare. Perhaps it was the loneliness she recognized in those ancient eyes, a loneliness that mirrored her own after years of war and loss. Whatever came next, she sensed both she and Lyridian were at the beginning of something neither of them fully understood, something that transcended predator and prey, something that might even be called friendship. Or perhaps something more. Remembrance and starlight. 3 weeks had passed since Nora's crash landing. The moon's twin suns cast prismatic patterns through the crystal spires of the Sithari sanctuary as she worked on her ship's transponder. Her fingers moved deftly despite the small gaps in her muscle memory, casualties of her daily sessions with Lyridian. Try the power coupling now, came Lyridian's voice from behind her. Nora glanced up. The Sithari queen floated several inches above the obsidian sand, her form significantly more substantial than when they'd first met. The feeding sessions had restored her strength, giving her silvery skin a luminous quality that reminded Nora of Mercury under starlight. Since when are you an expert on Terran engine systems? Nora asked with a smile. Lyridian's cosmic eyes sparkled. Since I consumed your academy engineering courses. though I must say, Instructor Joram's teaching methods were unnecessarily rigid. Nora laughed, then paused. I don't remember Instructor Joram. A shadow passed over Liridian's face. That's the third memory gap today. They both knew what was happening. Each feeding took more than just impressions now. Whole chunks of Nora's past were fatting, the price of Liridian's renewed vitality. It's fine, Nora said, connecting the power coupling. The transponder hummed to life. One step closer to rescue. Liridian drifted closer, her gown of starlight rippling around her form. Is rescue still what you want? The question hung between them. Nora's mission, her duty to the Alliance, felt increasingly distant. What remained vivid were the moments they'd shared these past weeks, Liridian teaching her to read ancient Sithari texts, showing her how to manipulate the crystalline technology of the ruins, telling stories of worlds long dead and civilizations forgotten. And then there were their feeding sessions, which had evolved into something neither had anticipated. It's time, Liridian said softly as the larger sun began to set, if you still wish to continue. Nora abandoned the transponder and followed Liridian into the heart of the sanctuary. Their feeding chamber was once a throne room, now transformed with cushions and blankets Nora had salvaged from her ship. On the ceiling, Liridian had used her renewed powers to create a perfect replica of Earth's night sky, a gift that had brought tears to Nora's eyes when she first saw it. They sat facing each other, knees almost touching. Liridian extended her long, silver fingers. Show me something beautiful today, she whispered. Nora closed her eyes as cool fingertips touched her temples. The connection between them had deepened with each session. Now, when Liridian fed, Nora could see through the Sithari's perception, experiencing her own memories as Liridian consumed them, feeling the alien's wonder and confusion at human emotions. Today, unprompted, Nora offered the memory of her first deep space flight, the exhilaration of breaking Earth's atmosphere, the breathtaking void of stars, the profound smallness she'd felt amid the cosmos. Liridian gasped as the memory flowed between them. Such joy in solitude, she murmured within their shared consciousness. We are more alike than I knew. But something different happened this time. As Liridian drew the memory forth, she inadvertently opened a channel to her own mind. Suddenly, Nora was experiencing Liridian's memories, ancient ceremonies beneath 3 moons, the birth of stars witnessed over millennia, the terrible loneliness of being the last of her kind. Their minds tangled together, boundaries dissolving. Memories flowed both ways. Nora's first kiss merged with Liridian's ritual ascension to queenhood. Nora's combat training blended with Liridian's dance of stellar manipulation. Shared grief and joy, human and alien, becoming indistinguishable. When they finally separated, both were trembling. Nora reached out, brushing tears from Liridian's cheek, tears that contained tiny galaxies within them. I didn't know your kind could cry, Nora whispered. We couldn't, Liridian replied, touching the moisture with wonder. Your humanity is changing me. That night they lay side by side beneath the fabricated earth sky, hands intertwined. Liridian's fingers traced patterns on Nora's palm. There's something I must tell you, the Sithari queen said. In the ancient archives I found records of a ritual, the mnemonic restoration. It was used when a feeding went too far, when memories needed to be returned. Nora turned to face her. You can give back what you've taken. Yes, Liridian said, her voice tight. But the cost is high. The Sithari who performs it must surrender their own consciousness, their essence, to restore what was consumed. No, Nora said immediately. I won't let you sacrifice yourself. Liridian smiled sadly. It may not be your choice to make. Yesterday you couldn't remember your parents' names. The revelation hit Nora like a physical blow. She tried to recall their faces, their voices, but found only mist where those fundamental memories should be. How much time do I have before I forget? Everything, she asked. Weeks, perhaps. Your mind is strong, but the process accelerates. Nora turned away, looking up at the artificial stars. We'll find another way. The transponder alert woke them at dawn, a sharp, insistent beeping that pulled Nora from confused dreams. She rushed outside, Lyridian floating anxiously behind her. It's a rescue signal, Nora said, examining the display. Alliance vessels approaching orbit. Lyridian's form flickered with distress. You should feel joy at this news. Nora stared at the signal, trying to feel something beyond confusion. The code sequence. It should mean something to me. It's your squadron, Lyridian said softly. You told me about them 3 feedings ago. Nora shook her head, frustrated by the blank space where those memories should be. What were their names? Lyridian recited them. Commander Patel, Lieutenant Rodriguez, Flight Officer Dawson, names that stirred nothing in Nora's mind. I'm already losing myself, Nora whispered. The Sithari Queen's expression hardened with resolve. Then I must act now, before more is lost. No, Nora grabbed Lyridian's wrist. There must be another solution. Lyridian cupped Nora's face with her free hand. What I've taken from you, it isn't just knowledge. It's your identity, your core self. Without those memories, who is Commander Nora Reeves? I could stay here, Nora suggested desperately. With you, we could build something new. A half-life for both of us, Lyridian's star-filled eyes shimmered. You forgetting more each day, me watching you fade. No. She leaned forward, pressing her forehead against Nora's. These past weeks have taught me what it means to love, a concept my species never truly understood. We fed on emotions but never experienced them ourselves. Through your memories, I've lived more fully than in all my centuries before. The signal from the approaching ships grew stronger. They had hours, perhaps less. Come with me, Lyridian said, leading Nora deep into the sanctuary to a chamber they hadn't entered before. At its center stood a pool of liquid starlight, surrounded by ancient symbols. The restoration requires a catalyst, a memory of pure emotion freely given. Lyridian stepped into the pool, the liquid light swirling around her ankles. I need one last memory from you, Nora. Not one I will take, but one you choose to share. Understanding dawned on Nora. She stepped into the pool, facing Lyridian. The liquid starlight rose around them, responding to their presence. I choose this, Nora said, and leaned forward to kiss Lyridian. The contact sparked something beyond their previous connections, a new memory being formed even as old ones prepared to return. In that kiss was everything they'd shared and everything they might have been. Nora poured her feelings into it, not just passion, but gratitude, admiration, and a love that bridged species and centuries. The starlight pool erupted around them, enveloping both in its brilliance. Lyridian's form began to dissolve, becoming pure light that flowed into Nora. With it came a torrent of memories, her childhood, her parents' faces, her academy days, her squadron, her mission. Everything Lyridian had consumed returned in a rush that brought Nora to her knees. When the light faded, Nora was alone in the pool. Where Lyridian had stood, only a small crystal remained, pulsing with inner light. Nora picked it up, cradling it in her palm. Within its facets, she could see swirling galaxies that reminded her of Lyridian's eyes. You didn't have to do this, she whispered to the crystal. We could have found another way. The crystal warmed in her hand, and in her mind she felt rather than heard a response. Some hungers can only be satisfied through sacrifice. Mine is finally at peace. Hours later, as Alliance rescue ships descended, Commander Nora Reeves stood ready, her memories intact. She wore the crystal on a chain around her neck, hidden beneath her uniform. In her official report, she would describe finding shelter in unusual ruins. She would mention geological formations of scientific interest. She would request the moon's quarantine status be maintained for environmental preservation purposes. What she wouldn't mention was the alien queen who had consumed her memories and then returned them, who had taught her that love could exist beyond form or species, who now lived on as a presence in her mind, a whisper of starlight that would never fade. As she boarded the rescue shuttle, Nora placed her hand over the hidden crystal. "We'll see the stars together," she promised silently. "All of them." And deep within her consciousness, Lyridian's essence stirred in response. No longer hungry, no longer alone, finally home.